It's Friday, April 24th, 2026. Back on schedule, and welcome to episode 200, the bicentennial episode of the Alameda Postcast, an audio service of the Alameda Post since April 29th, 2022. I'm your host, Scott Piola, back from the island of Key West and ready to dive back into the news and events of the island of Alameda. In this edition of the Postcast, City Council advances multiple projects, but a surprise move delays the installation of our next city manager. Be on the lookout for a utilities scam. On the legit side of things, Edmund is offering insurance for potentially expensive repairs. AUSD's Teacher of the Year is announced, some local organizations honored for innovation, a champion for senior dogs, plus events for your weekend. These stories and more on this episode of the Alameda Postcast. Our top story: on Tuesday, City Council approved some major Alameda Point initiatives and was hit with a surprise. Let's take a look. Community Development Manager Walker Toma presented the proposal to advance the long-planned Radium Theater Performing Arts Center at Alameda Point, asking the council to approve real estate agreements to move the privately funded project into its next phase while limiting public risk. As noted in previous episodes, the proposal centers on a 53,000 square foot venue that would include a main theater, studio theater, rehearsal space, gallery cafe, rooftop bar, and a 1-acre public plaza. Estimated at a cost of $150 million, the project would be financed entirely through philanthropic contributions and operated as a nonprofit with no ongoing city subsidy. To enable the project, Toma recommended declaring 1.87 acres of city-owned land on former Taxiway H as exempt surplus land and approving a lease option structure. Under that framework, the developer, Radium Presents, would enter a 3-year lease option period with up to 3 1-year extensions, during which it must secure full project funding and complete all entitlements before gaining site control. Extensions would be tied to fundraising milestones to ensure measurable progress. Upon meeting those conditions, the agreement would convert to a 66-year ground lease at $1 per year. Only after construction, opening, and at least 10 years of sustained operation would the developer have the option to purchase the property, although the city would retain right of first refusal. The city would commit to about $4.5 million toward future north-south roadway connection, while constructing interim access roads and parking needed before the facility could open. The developer would build a pedestrian-oriented street and other site improvements to help integrate the project with surrounding development. Public comment overwhelmingly supportive. Local developer Joe Ernst said the facility would have a dramatic positive impact on Alameda Point, attracting businesses and creating a stronger sense of place. Residents and parents highlighted Alameda's lack of comparable arts facilities, noting that local performers often travel off-island to perform. Arts advocates emphasized cultural and social benefits, with Jennifer Radakovich, executive director of Rhythmics, noting the potential for partnerships across the arts community. Katie Connell, founder of the Creativity Center of Alameda, cited research linking the arts to lower stress, stronger civic engagement, and improved social outcomes. Economic arguments were also prominent, with speakers pointing to increased visitor spending and local business activity. Council unanimously approved the proposal, framing it as a cultural investment and a significant milestone for Alameda's development. In other business, Council also unanimously approved a contract with Restorative Pathways to operate the city's day center, safe parking program, and emergency shelter site, filling the void left by the departure of Village of Love and the quick dismissal of Urban Alchemy. Under the contract, Restorative Pathways would operate the site 24 hours a day, year-round, providing case management, meals, overnight stays, site maintenance, and security. The organization would also manage a transition to a larger future site at 1041 West Midway Avenue, expected to open in late summer or early fall. The sale of Building 92, the former Alameda Food Bank location, was also approved unanimously. The buyer is Ernst Development, a familiar name here in the East Bay. The sale price, $7.25 million, an all-cash offer, with the property being sold as is. Ernst will be responsible for renovating the building and returning it to productive use. Additionally, Council unanimously approved an ordinance implementing Senate Bill 346, a new state law that aims to improve oversight of short-term rentals by requiring platforms like Airbnb to share property-level data with cities. The measure addresses enforcement gaps by giving the city access to information such as property addresses, listing IDs, and tax remittances, allowing staff to verify compliance with licensing rules and the city's 14% transient occupancy tax. Finally, the surprise: Councilmember Greg Bowler requested delaying a contract for Jerry Bowden as the next city manager, citing new information from the city's recruiter. Bowler emphasized that the unspecified details do not reflect on Bowden's qualifications, but said the council has a fiduciary duty to review the matter in closed session due to incomplete information. Mayor Ashcraft said she was totally unaware of the concerns Bowler referenced, and the motion to pull the item passed 4-1, with the mayor voting no. The item is now expected to return on May 5th. Full details in Karen Jensen's article at alamedapost.com/news. In this day and age of cyber scams, it's almost strangely comforting to see a scam that arrives in your postal mailbox. Unfortunately, it looks good enough to believe. Alameda Municipal Power issued a heads up on Facebook about a misleading flyer labeled Public Utility Notice that is currently circulating around Alameda. It references California Public Utilities Code 379.6 and is designed to look official, but it's not. The flyer is actually a marketing piece from a private company. The flyer falsely claims you'll pay 37% more for electricity if you don't enroll in their program. That is patently false. If you receive one of these notices, the best thing you can do with it is take advantage of another Alameda service, the Blue Recycling Cart from Alameda County Industries. To get a look at what the notice looks like, head to alamedapost.com/news. There is a potentially beneficial offering actually from one of our utility providers, EBMUD. If you're a homeowner and an EBMUD customer, you're probably one of the 210,000 who received a notice recently highlighting an optional policy through Service Line Warranties of America to cover problems with a water line that extends from a house to the EBMUD water meter. Essentially, you're responsible for everything from the meter to your house. To put it another way, EBMUD's responsibility ends at the meter. Those lines are subject to corrosion, ground shifting, and more. If they break, that repair can be in excess of $3,000. The insurance offered through SLWA is $3 a month, actually $2.99, which works out to $35.88 a year. The insurance policy pays for up to $12,000 per service call. SLWA is rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. Already 12,000 customers have taken advantage. David Boitano has the complete story at alamedapost.com/news. Alameda Unified School District announced that Catherine Werner, a special education teacher at Encinal Junior and Senior High School, has been named AUSD's 2026 Teacher of the Year. Details in Susan Davis's article at alamedapost.com/alameda-life. At the 2026 East Bay Innovation Awards on March 26, 41 honorees were celebrated for regional excellence. Alameda's Anthro Energy was honored with a technology award for revolutionizing the battery industry with safer and cleaner energy storage designs, and Rhythmix Cultural Works honored with a Community Impact Award for providing high-quality music, dance, and theater programming, including offering free and low-cost performances to East Bay youth. Story at alamedapost.com/news. Unfortunately, no Alameda love for the World Beer Cup this week. Plenty of California and Bay Area representation, but no hardware for the Island Breweries this week in Philadelphia. You'll want to head over to alamedapost.com/alameda-life. Get to know more about Annie Wilson. Ms. Wilson is a champion for the senior dogs of FOZ, creating videos to help them find their forever homes. Annie is a wheelchair user with spinal muscular atrophy and makes the videos using an eye-tracking technology called iGaze Edge. She was recently featured in a Forbes magazine article, as well as a short YouTube video entitled Annie Loves Dogs. When people respond to Annie's SMA diagnosis with "I'm so sorry," she replies, quote, "Why are you sorry? I'm not sorry. I'm out here killing it." End quote. Get to know Annie in Vivian Deschamps Wolf's article at alamedapost.com/alameda-life. The article includes links to both the documentary and the Forbes feature.
My name is Jessica, and I went to the Radio Museum in Alameda. I saw old radios with glowing lights and knobs. Some of them can even play music I like. Go to chrsradio.org to learn how you can visit.
Another future announcer honing their skills as part of CHRS's Soundbites program. In May, the STEM program, designed for ages 5 to 15, will look at what's inside your iPhone, comparing the componentry to a vintage radio to see the evolution of technology. Details on the CHRS website. This weekend, get to know the history of Old Town Alameda as our history walking tours continue this Saturday and Sunday at 10 a.m. Get tickets at alamedapost.com/tours and check out Dennis Evanosky's background article at alamedapost.com/history. The Ocean Photographer of the Year exhibit opens this weekend at Alameda Point, while Anything Goes is in its final weekend at Altarena Playhouse. Check out all the events at 94501.info. I hope you can join me Sunday morning at 8 on KCSM HD2 for the Alameda Connection. My guest will be Melanie Dixon, president of the College of Alameda. If you don't have an HD radio, you can stream the show from kcsm.org. Find the Alameda Post on all the social media platforms, now including TikTok. You can subscribe to us on Apple News and sign up for our weekly news digest at alamedapost.com/email-digest. Get the Postcast wherever you get your podcast, or tell your smart device to play the Alameda Postcast podcast. I'm Scott Peeler. Back next week as the show enters its 5th year with episode 201 of the Alameda Postcast.